What's up, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Ryan Ripken Show. No, I am not Ryan Ripken. I'm Zach Bollinger, and I will be running the show for like the next 5-10 minutes. Ryan running a little bit behind. I haven't seen that before. So we are waiting for him to get in studio, but we have some incredible guests joining us today, and we did not want to delay that at all. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. At 4 o'clock, we will have Pro Football Talk and NBC analyst Mike Florio joining us to talk a little bit about the National Football League offseason. We have Max Crosby, Tyreek Hill. You have what's going on with the Ravens, new coaching staff, Declan Doyle, Anthony Weaver, and Anthony Levine all spoke today with Jesse Minter in an introductory press conference. Might ask a few questions from that. And then at the 4:30 mark, we will have Olympian figure skater Kimmie Meissner joining us from Baltimore, from Towson area. Also went to University of Delaware. My brother went there. He didn't make the Olympics, so we had to talk to another Blue Hen that did. So we are going to have a very good show. Ryan just texted me that he will be on. Yes, I should say this is welcome to episode actually 437. Don't know where we got the 120 mark from, but VT Raven, thank you for looking out for me here. Welcome to episode 430, 440. Anything 400 to 500. That's where we're sitting at. Don't know where. If you're listening on the audio platform and all you've heard recently is welcome to episode 136, 132, whatever we're at, I'm sorry if this confuses you. We are much, much deeper into our episodes than that. But welcome in to the Ryan Ripken Show. Ryan will be joining us in a few moments, and then we will talk to our guests. But before we get into any of that, I did want to talk about some exciting news in Baltimore. Exciting news in Baltimore. Baseball's coming, and you just feel the energy starting to ramp up. It feels like this is a big time of change in Baltimore, and we're going to get into it more. But you look at the Orioles, you have the guys like Pete Alonso, you got Taylor Ward coming in, Chris Bassett, Albernaz. You get a new ringleader there. Then you look over to the Ravens, Jesse Minter. Yes, he brings back some familiar names with Anthony Weaver and Anthony Levine. But Declan Doyle talked about a little bit like, hey, I know OTAs are optional, but I want everyone there. We talked, or if you looked on Twitter earlier today, I want to get who posted it, but one of the reporters down there talked about just the energy and how, hey, it's early on, but there is a different energy, a different purpose to everything they are doing in Sarasota, and it just feels a little bit different. The energy, the vibes, it feels like everything's done with a purpose. There's more energy from the players, more competitiveness. Talked earlier this week, the reporters, that is, with Craig Albernaz, and he said, hey, they asked him about, you did some situational hitting yesterday with runners in scoring position, less than 2 outs. Why was that? And he was like, we're trying to change their mindset, kind of saying like, hey, these guys last year, even with men on base, it still was very swing for the fences. They're trying to reverse that, get guys in no matter how it works. So a lot of exciting things to talk about. We are going to have some amazing guests on, and Ryan will be joining us in just a few minutes to help kick us off. But as I just said, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. I know this week has been a little hectic with our schedule, with when we're going live. Are we going live? Are we going live at this time? Yes, this is usually the time of year when we take off, maybe for a week or two like we did last year. But we got some momentum going. We obviously we've got some guests lined up, and we want to give them their time as well. So thanks for sticking with us as scheduling has changed. It probably is going to go into next week as well. So while we try to go 3 to 5 every day, things will be changing over the next, well, probably just into next week. So thanks for bearing with us. Ryan is behind the scenes, getting ready. He needs to, if he can hear me, he needs to turn the light on in the studio. If he can hear, I'm waiting for him to put his earpiece in. Like I was just saying, if he can hear me, he should turn the light on in the studio if he hasn't already. Yeah, I would get up and go turn it. He's going to turn it on now. He's going to go turn it on. But thank you. Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. And a lot less took over so Ryan could get a little bit more time, and he's taking his time right now. So whenever he is ready, we will bring him on. So thank you. And Ryan, if you're ready, you give me a thumbs up behind the scenes, and we'll bring you
on. I do what I want. Okay.
So welcome to the show, Ryan Ripken. Ryan, welcome.
Hey, Zach, come here. Oh, you did it for me.
Beat you to it.
For me. Oh. Hey, guys. Appreciate it. When did you get this party started?
9 minutes ago.
Beautiful. Well, hey, guys, welcome on in. Appreciate you guys. And it's been a little bit of a whirlwind overall. So thank you for your patience. What did you tell everyone who we're having on? I
went over our guests, just kind of talked about, hey, we're going to obviously talk about the offseason, all that with Mike Florio, obviously being from the Baltimore, Maryland area with Kimmie Meissner, going to kind of talk about her experiences in the Olympics, all of that. But then also just kind of this is where we're at. We're going Pepto on the show.
Cheers. You keep going. I'll wait.
Yeah, and I just thanked everyone for sticking with us, as this week and into next are going to be a little bit hectic on timing. Usually we take time off, but keeping the ball rolling with guests. So just housekeeping, hit that like and subscribe button, all the usual buzzwords.
Beautiful. That you hit all of that. And yes, we are trying to get as much as we can together, and we do try to take a little bit of time off, like Zach said, but we want to try to give you all the content that we can. And then yesterday we had Buck and Jim, which is amazing. Today we got 2 great guests, Mike Florio and Kimmie Meissner, Maryland native, so, and who knows who we have in store. You guys have seen the guest list that we've had. Shout out Ryan Chell for all that help as well. But we have a lot of things planned for this season, and I can't wait to tell you more about that. I can't yet. Soon we can discuss a couple other things here. So I'll do a little toast here to you all. Zach, would you like to toast? And it's good stress right now, but I want to toast to you this Pepto. To you guys, thank you for all the support. We appreciate you, and let's have a great show. Cheers.
Let's go.
Sip and smile.
Also, before we get into our guests and everything, do want to say Angels just announced that they won't televise any of their Cactus League games. So we've talked about it before. Orioles jumping up to, I believe they're showing 21 games this season, which is a massive boost. Do not take that for granted. That is a massive blessing that you get to watch that much baseball, because in most years it's growing and it's growing along, with the league. Angels don't know what we're doing here, but be thankful that the Orioles are taking that step with Masson to broadcast. I think it's like 20-ish or so games, because that is important, as we continue to get a hold of the roster, want to watch guys, and just it's good to watch baseball. I know I'm not going to be saying that in a month from now when it's March, 18th, and we're all sitting there and we're like, get these games over with. We just want them to count. But right now, I just want to watch some ball. Just want to watch some baseball.
And you will, at least especially for Orioles fans, you'll be watching ball on Friday. I believe the game's at 1 p.m., Zach?
You believe so.
I should probably figure that out for my own sake here. So Friday, I think it's a 1 p.m. game, and then we're off and running. So there's a lot of things to be excited about. I saw Steve. We do plan to have some spring training coverage, but that's also contingent on what I'm trying to figure out at this moment in time. There's a couple things trying to figure out at this moment in time, but we will be running Monday through Friday during the week. We will then have the post games, Kevin and Zach react. It's kind of crazy how quickly things are starting to turn here. And all of a sudden, whammy, man, we're back rocking and rolling. And it feels like the Super Bowl was so long ago. But reality, it was 10 days ago.
You could, the Super Bowl being, literally 10 days ago now. Part of me feels like we just were in San Francisco yesterday, and then the other part feels like that was 4 months ago. We're at that weird part in sports where every day feels like a second goes by, but also like a year. It's that dead period that we'll get through it. We'll get through it together.
We'll get through it, and I have 5 ways to find relief in the short term here, Zach. I don't know why I'm stressing so much. Maybe it's just because I have all these thoughts running through my head. My eating schedule's been off. I don't know. Maybe it's just the stress of the moment. Maybe, I got a lot of things to figure out. But if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate you guys. If you're new, we're from the Maryland region, but we do cover a lot of things that are focused on the football space, the baseball space. Football season has come to an end, but it doesn't mean that the news stops. Today, the Ravens introduced their coordinating crew with Jesse Minter, their new head coach. So there's a lot of excitement there. There's a lot of things we should unpack there. And then there has been some moves around the NFL recently where it looks like a couple players will be finding a new home and one potentially could. This is the offseason. Welcome to it. And free agency is less than a month away. But Mike, if you're ready, give me the thumbs up and we'll rock and roll. Double thumbs up. Well, saw him at the Super Bowl for a brief moment. He's been running around. You saw him all year on NBC, and obviously you see him over there on Pro Football Talk. Let's bring on Mike Florio. Mike, how you doing?
You guys saw the double bird that I gave too, just to make sure that we're on the same page. How are you?
We're on the same page here. Hey, sorry for a second. I got a little stomach issue right now, Mike. So I got to have my hip Pepto moment.
Hey, I've been there and I've done that. 1986, probably before you were born. I don't know. 4th of July, ran a 10K race that day. Ran it as hard as I've ever ran a 10K race in my life. Finished in, I think, 38:40 back when I was in shape. And it gave me a serious stomach issue. And my friends and I went to Pittsburgh that day for the 4th of July celebrations. And I had to carry around a bottle of Pepto-Bismol in a paper bag. And people were like, hey, you got some beverage there. It's like, yeah, I got Pepto-Bismol. Yeah, sure, it's Pepto-Bismol. Yes, it was Pepto-Bismol all day long because I was having to make a mad dash to a bathroom whenever I could find one.
See, it's the medicine that stretches decades and can help for many different reasons there. So I appreciate you sharing that, Mike. Mine is not because I ran a marathon. Mine's just probably more stress related. But I appreciate it. And I think I appreciate you the most here for saying, I don't know if you were born yet. Thank you for that, because in the Super Bowl, Torrey Smith roasted my ass saying there's no way you're younger than me. Todd Monken got that kicked off when we had him on here right after the season, right after Harbaugh got let go. And he thought I was 42. Brandon Stokely came on the show and said I was 50. And you know where it starts with? It starts with this, Mike. They said the hairline. I'm 32 for the record. Okay, so I want to thank you very much for not assuming that I'm older than I might look.
Well, that's good. And hey, it's always good to look a little more mature because people will take you more seriously. So that's the key. You know you're younger, but they're taking you more seriously because they think you're older.
Zach, you see that? Is that why you've been growing the beard, Zach?
Yeah, it's working on it. We got to it's baby steps.
Yeah. Mike, Zach's 26 now.
Yeah, 26 now. 26 now. So getting up there.
He's the baby of the group. Well, Mike, a few things that have been. Well, first off, before getting into the news, what was one of your favorite highlights of Super Bowl week? I rarely saw you. You were running around, but what was one of the favorite things that you got to be a part of? Obviously, it's a big game, but anything behind the scenes that you really enjoyed?
God, the whole week was just a blur. And I'll tell you what was really significant and had nothing to do with why we were there. I lived in the Bay Area in the 80s when I was in college in Pittsburgh. I was in a co-op work program, and Chevron has a big refinery there, and I was working there. I'd go back to school for a semester. I'd go back to California. So I had a few really good friends that I hadn't seen in 40 years. And I've never had that experience in my life where you have really good friends that you see all the time. One guy I worked with, one guy we lived in the same apartment. And to go 40 years without seeing someone, it's a trip. And they've had the ability to see me on TV and YouTube and wherever, but I hadn't seen them. And it was just wild. Two different experiences that week where back together with someone that both guys were really good friends in different ways. And to see them for the first time 40 years later, that was a trip. And that was it probably won't be another 40 years until I see them because we'll both be dead by then. So that was memorable more than anything else that happened because every Super Bowl is the same. It's hectic. It's crazy. You get to interview a bunch of different people. We hang out with Justin Jefferson. That part of it's fun, but that part of it's the same every year. To have an experience like that I'd never even had on my radar screen, that was wild.
It's those little things that everyone has different reasons of why it's special. And that's what I've come to learn from this whole experience. And growing up in my situation and then now being on the other side in the media, it's not the big glamour that you see. It's the personal reasons of why it makes it special. So I'm glad you got to enjoy that, Mike. And it is a chaotic week. And I find out even though football season's over, still, you never fully sleep. You got to pick back up with free agency. Or if you're in our neck of the woods, Baltimore went through a huge change. Everybody was gone on the coaching staff. Well, mainly, but the big names, Harbaugh's in New York. Here comes a new staff. They all got introduced. So there's a lot of different ways I can look at this. So maybe I'll start with this part, Mike, on your side. All the coordinators got introduced today in Baltimore. There's a lot of young juice. There's a lot of new insights. Maybe some could say fresh ideas. There's Jesse Minter that still comes from the Harbaugh tree, but maybe just your initial assessment, if you got a chance to see any of it, or maybe what you would take away from it. And one thing I've always noticed is I think that this staff is ready to try to put their fingerprints on what they want the new Baltimore Ravens to be.
What is amazing to think how the changes that happened were sparked by an outcome that easily could have been different. I know Steve Bisciotti has said that even if the field goal hadn't been missed at the end of the Week 18 game in Pittsburgh, the change would have been made eventually. But if they had gotten to the Super Bowl or won it, the change isn't going to be made unless John Harbaugh wants out. And there was the game the first time around with the Steelers where a couple of very bad calls contributed to the Ravens losing that one. So it's just crazy how the margin can be so thin and a season goes one way versus the other. And I feel like what they've done, especially through head coach Jesse Minter, they've just basically gone out and found the closest thing they could find to a younger version of the Harbaugh brothers, because Jesse Minter has worked with both of them and they've had 4 years with Jesse Minter. So it's not like they're rolling the dice on someone they don't know. And I would expect that while he was there, like Eric DeCoste, the GM, would be doing with any assistant coach that he encounters, they don't just scout players, they scout coaches, because one of these days you're going to need to hire a coach. Who am I going to hire? Who are the guys that I like? Where are they on the list? And there was always a buzz that Minter was going to be a serious candidate. So I think that it will be as much like as it's been as they can make it. And they've been good. They haven't been good enough. They haven't fulfilled expectations. They haven't gotten to a Super Bowl, as we all know, with Lamar Jackson there. That's going to be the goal. But this one feels like the closest thing to trying to create a sense of continuity while also having dramatic change in the identity of the coaching staff.
Yeah, and I think you're right with the Minter selection for so many reasons. There's a comfortability, and it also it felt not maybe obvious, but everything aligned for why Jesse was going to be a strong candidate and why he ended up being the coach, from the familiarity to also the lineage. And you feel how John Harbaugh told us, you still feel like it's going to feel like the Baltimore Ravens to an extent. Now, you got some new pieces. Declan Doyle, I was hearing him talk about what he wants to do. A lot of things that he was saying. He's like, I want to hit the ground running in OTAs and trying to get everyone on the same page. You talk about continuity. You know, to me, I got from the press conference, there was an urgency to want to make sure that you want to get things right. And maybe I use the baseball analogy with this, Mike. Spring training's going on down right now. And actually staying in Baltimore, they have a new manager, first-year manager. And a lot of things that I've heard from him was, hey, I'm not trying to change everything up, but we want to implement how we want to run things as early as possible. Does that kind of make sense in this equation for Baltimore?
Oh, it absolutely does. And it makes the offseason program more important than it's been in years. And it also makes very important the starting quarterback making the commitment to be there. He's given up $1.5 million the last 2 years, combined $750,000 each season, in not showing up for enough of the offseason program to earn that payment. They need him to be all in. They need him to be there. They need him to be learning. They need him to be around, because that lays the foundation for hitting the ground sprinting when it's time to have training camp in the preseason and you get ready for week one. So it's important to have everyone all in, and there's going to be some roster changes. We're already seeing that happen. Teams moving on from veteran players, free agents will be signed, draft picks will come in. Every team is going to look a lot different when training camp opens than it looked when the season ended. And having the guys who are already there and are staying fully on board with this new coaching staff, that's going to be critical. And that means having guys there. And I know, and we hear all the time, oh, it's voluntary. It's voluntary. Well, come on. That's just the name they've applied to it. Every coach expects the key players to volunteer to be there. They need them to be there to learn the systems and be ready to go when it's time to be there on a not voluntary basis.
Well, I want to talk about some of the faces that may or may not be in Baltimore next year. But, Zach, did you want a quick follow-up before we jump to that gear?
Yeah, real fast. Mike, you kind of just talked about how Jesse Minter, that hiring was kind of maybe trying to find a younger version of the Harbaugh brothers and kind of keeping that, continuing what they built here with John. A lot of people in Baltimore kind of wanted a fresh look entirely and wanted, hey, let's not go to the Harbaugh tree. Let's get a completely different way of going about this. In your mind, was it a good decision to kind of pluck from the Harbaugh tree, keep some of those things going? Or do you think maybe they should have looked somewhere that didn't have anything to do with the Harbaughs?
They know their organization, their culture, and what they hope to have this thing turn into better than I will. Mm-hmm. You could make the argument, yes, let's just have a completely fresh start here. And one of the key questions, and I'm assuming we're going to get around to it eventually, and maybe we go there right now. Mm-hmm. What does Lamar Jackson think of this hire? How does he feel about it? Would he have preferred an offensive coach? Would he have preferred a head coach with head coaching experience? How is he reacting to, and we don't know because he never says, how's he reacting to a first-time head coach with a defensive background? And now you got an offensive coordinator. You know what? If things go well, Declan Doyle is going to be a head coach next year at the earliest. And then here comes a new offensive coordinator. And we've seen different offensive coordinators over the years in Baltimore under John Harbaugh, but that's one of the realities going forward. What does he think about this? And would he have preferred that a Mike McDaniel, just to throw out a name for a guy who was under consideration, a guy with head coaching experience who's a specialist in offense. Is that what Lamar Jackson would have preferred? He keeps the cards close to the vest. He doesn't say much publicly. That's going to be a key. And even when it's time for him to talk to reporters again, you know, he tends to say the right things. He wants to be a good teammate. He wants to defer to the process. But at the same time, we don't know what he really thinks. And I don't know that we ever will.
Mm-hmm. From what I understand now, Mike, just on my side of being, from things that I've heard, you know, you're right. We don't hear a lot of public comments, but I do know with this process more than any other time that Steve Bisciotti is one of the most respected owners, I think, not just in football, all around sports. And he understands of what he needs and what the comfortability has to be with guys that he expects to be leading this franchise. And no mistake, it's Lamar is going to be at the forefront of that, right? And everything that I've heard about it, they're going to get everything restructured, and they are expecting it. So I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't, or he would not sign off on this. But I do understand from that side of it, Mike, is a lot of people want to see Lamar speak more. It's just not really his style. And the reality is, to be frank, we don't even have any of these conversations or a change in coach if the Ravens are in the Super Bowl at any point, right? Like it's because of the failures that these conversations are being brought up more. Is that a fair way to say this?
Yeah, and you said one thing that caught my attention, the idea of Lamar signing off on it. Steve Bisciotti made it clear during the press conference following the firing of John Harbaugh that no player has the ability to sign off on it. He wants input, but I have the power. That's what he said. I have the power. So at the end of the day, it was his decision. We don't know how involved Lamar Jackson really was. Josh Allen was there at every interview. Josh Allen was there at the press conference when Joe Brady was introduced. And I think part of what the Bills were trying to do was to get Josh Allen to not blame himself for getting Sean McDermott fired, because you could easily argue, if you're Josh Allen, it's my fault that the head coach is now gone. So at the end of the day, Bisciotti was making the decision, and they have to hope that Lamar Jackson is still on the same page. You mentioned restructuring. You mentioned the new contract. Bisciotti said, we want to get him extended before the start of free agency, and if we don't, we'll activate our priority to restructure the deal. All that does is it takes the $74.5 million cap charge that's on the books for this year and kicks the can into future years. He's under contract for 2 more seasons. They have no power, if power is the key word here, they have no power over him after 2027. He can walk away as a free agent. That's only 2 years away. And I know in the NFL that can be a lifetime, but in 2 years, the conversation may be, where is he going to sign next? As a completely and totally unrestricted free agent, they need to get him to sign. And until he signs, until that deal is done, and it's a new 5-year contract that pays him $61 million per year or whatever it would be, to make him feel like he's being paid fairly, because 52.5 has been eclipsed by a couple of different guys. If it's 61, if it's 62, if it's whatever, once that deal's done, then okay, this is where the guy is going to keep playing. Until that deal's done, I don't know what the hell's going to happen. And I think that's the biggest challenge, I think, for a Ravens fan, is to understand that there still is a chance that this is going to end with Lamar Jackson playing somewhere else. And I think this next contract is critical, and they have to get a 5-year deal or whatever, however long it is. They have to get the kind of deal done that makes it clear that well into his 30s at a minimum, Lamar Jackson's still going to be with the Ravens. Right now, it's undecided because the contract isn't done.
And that's where the what ifs can come into play, right, Mike? That's where who knows. Now, maybe I'm an optimist, or maybe just from what I see here, I would be shocked if he wasn't a Raven for the long haul. But until things happen, right, we don't know, and it's going to be time will tell. But my inkling is that Lamar is going to be a Raven here for quite a long time, and I'm hoping, especially for the team's sake and for Lamar's sake, that they get back to the Super Bowl. Because, Mike, it hasn't been a good year for Baltimore sports in general. The Orioles didn't do well, fired a manager. The Ravens missed the playoffs, fired their head coach. We need to change some things, the voodoo here, maybe drink some more Pepto-Bismol, and that can change it up. But maybe one more thing, because the what ifs, this is the fun part of the offseason. You've talked a little bit about some of this so far, but there are some names that people are wondering about. Tyreek Hill is gone now in Miami. Bradley Chubb is gone now in Miami. The what if around Max Crosby? Does he want to leave? Does he want to stay? I don't know if all of those make sense, at least to Baltimore, but at least one of those options could make sense. I think the Raven move up front would say Bradley Chubb would be a candidate. But is there any other inklings that you're hearing or that you're curious about with maybe those three names I mentioned?
Well, when you mention Max Crosby, I think of Micah Parsons last year, because once it was clear the Cowboys were willing to trade him to get out of that contract mess that the team and the player were into, I said if the Bills and the Ravens are serious about trying to get past the Chiefs, they should be at the front of the line trying to work out this deal to get Micah Parsons. And one of the things the Cowboys found out quickly, no AFC team was interested. It came down to the Packers and the Eagles, and they didn't want to trade him to the Eagles, so they traded him to the Packers. So with Max Crosby, I don't know. The Ravens put a premium on those draft picks, because a draft pick is the ability to pick a guy that you have scouted, that you're confident is going to develop into a great player, and have him under contract if it's a first-round pick for 5 years and maybe a sixth with the franchise tag if it comes to it. It's hard to give up that opportunity to get a guy who can grow into becoming a great player at a cheap cash and cap amount. So if we're looking at guys who may be available, Chubb, who'll be cut as of March 11, or Tyreek Hill, who has been cut and is available. And here's why Hill intrigues me. And I think you guys mentioned this when you reached out to have me on. 3 years ago, when the Ravens were at their wits' end to try to get Lamar signed, I believe 100%, and I would say higher than that, but we know that's statistically impossible, even though we say it anyway. But I believe 100% that the signing of Odell Beckham Jr. to a 1-year, $15 million fully guaranteed contract at a time when nobody was going to pay him $15 million a year, that was a factor in getting that deal done with Lamar Jackson. And if they believe that signing Tyreek Hill would have the same impact and get that deal done, if they think it's close, and this is the thing that pushes it over the top, and here we go. We have Tyreek Hill to partner with Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't be surprised if they go after Tyreek Hill, because you kill two birds with one stone. You add a capable receiver, and Beckham really didn't do much that year, but you add a capable receiver in Tyreek Hill, and you get the long-term continuity you're looking for with Lamar Jackson. So that's why I'm intrigued by Tyreek Hill to the Ravens, and also to the extent that Hill may go to the Chiefs or the Bills or some other team in the AFC. Signing him keeps him away from those teams, and then you don't have to deal with him.
And you wonder how much a guy's going to have left in the tank and coming back from an injury. I would like to always bet on the player that if you have a skill set and you have that talent, you do the right things, you're still going to be an asset. I think Tyreek Hill, we don't know if he's going to be back to being the cheetah, but we do know he will have value for a team. I think that's a no doubt, no brainer. Another guy that slipped under the radar, we had him out there in on Radio Row, is Hollywood Brown. And Hollywood there's been some cryptic tweets right now, or Instagram messages, right, Zach, of Hollywood and Lamar, that purple and black.
Yep. Posting videos as a Raven,
Could be a reunion. But it is a fascinating time. I'm excited for that, and I appreciate all the insight in your time. I mean, this isn't really a downtime for you.
No.
I guess. No. I mean, what else? I mean, you got the combine coming up, but what is going on in Mike Florio's world that we should know about?
I keep saying that this week I go from sleeping with both eyes open to sleeping with one eye open, and then it'll be both eyes open again. Next week in Indianapolis is going to be very hectic. We'll have access to a lot of coaches and GMs. We may be talking to Jesse Minter there. It's all to be determined. It's just crazy. The prospects come through one after the other. We talk to this guy, talk to this guy, talk to this guy, and then you have dinner with different people and you see different people, and it's just nonstop activity. And then free agency rolls around. So, hey, the true break comes after the draft, and then life is normal for about 6 or 8 weeks, and then it all starts up again. But off we go. It really is amazing when you think about it. I heard you talking on the way in. We just crowned a Super Bowl champion 10 days ago, and it's forgotten. It's forgotten. They had the parade, and the Seahawks are for sale, and the NFL moves on, and all 32 teams are 0-0. The late Dennis Green, who was the Vikings and Cardinals head coach, he called it the Valley of 0-0, and everybody's got an equal shot. And the NFL loves to be able to say, look, it can happen for any team. And the Seahawks were what, a 60-1 underdog to win the Super Bowl going into the season? The league loves that because it makes fans of every team. Doesn't matter which team. You can make yourself think this time of year. We're one off season away from having that party and that parade that'll be forgotten 10 days later because we got to focus on the next season.
I mean, and you can flip it on the other side. The Patriots, a team that, we thought they would take a step with Vrabel. Well, was that step going to the Super Bowl? Not many people thought it, but you know who's going to think it? The teams that had 4 wins the previous year. You're telling me there's a chance. Or if there's not a chance, you can be stressed. You can get some Pepto-Bismol, Mike. Like we've talked about, I think we both endorse this. It's done the job. It can help with anxiety and stress too.
Do you do it room temperature or do you do it refrigerator?
So I just opened this puppy up. So it's room temperature.
You really needed it, yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying
I needed to be a little cold, although the day that I relied on it, I didn't carry a cooler around. But man, that stuff's nasty. You really, I don't want. I'm not looking for a Pepto-Bismol sponsorship here. It is a challenge to get it down, but it does do the job.
Oh, it's delicious. I mean, maybe this is part of my. So 2 things when I played, Mike. I'll let you get out of here. Is I found out tequila and Pepto-Bismol could be my best friend. Whether I had a good game, that would be the mixer. What would that be the name of? That's the pink elixir. I don't know.
I'd have to do some research into the Spanish language to come up with the right words to name the Pepto-Bismol and tequila mix. That could be potent. That could be popular.
You know what, Mike? Next time you come on, how about this? We have a name for that.
I'll have a name for it. The next time I'm on, I'll have a name for 1 part Pepto-Bismol, 2 parts tequila.
Beautiful. Well, I'm sorry I'm going to have to miss you at the Combine, but I always appreciate your time. I know you're trying to relax, but I hope you can get a minute. And appreciate you taking time and look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, great talking to you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Mike Florio, everybody. I'm really curious what this is going to be named.
It's part of the challenge. Love it.
I'll tell you what. I kind of like I like the taste. It goes down smooth. If I'm not,
you might be the first person in history. Also, Ryan, while we just kind of sit in between guests right now, the Boston Red Sox just tweeted out one of the weirder things I've ever seen, to be honest. I'm just going to pull it up because I've never seen a team tweet this. So the Boston Red Sox says, as part of Major League Baseball's return to the 2023 jersey template, we approved a design for our home white jerseys, which Fanatics produced exactly to our specs. Once they were produced and seen in person, we felt there should be more spacing between the lettering and piping. Collaboration with MLB and Fanatics, we're adjusting the home whites to achieve this separation. The updated jerseys will be ready for opening day. We are grateful for our partners. But they deleted an original tweet where they just called out Fanatics and were like, hey, Fanatics messed up our jerseys, so they might not be ready. I don't understand why you even tweet that, to be honest.
The first tweet prompted the second tweet.
Yes, they try, because then there was a third tweet that they just made, and they said, to be clear, the original design was selected by the Red Sox. Fanatics executed the specifications and has been outstanding partner throughout. So I think they got in trouble for calling out Fanatics, and then they had to do a little PR there. So
yes, Zach, that is exactly what happened. Because let me tell you something. Every spring training, we had all these meetings, and the meetings would be around, make sure NSF certified for drugs, drug related, make sure you're safe. And we'd have those meetings. But other meetings that we had about social media and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And typically, paraphrasing this conversation was, if you are going to tweet something, I like this rule of thumb. Take a second, take a step back, maybe take a deep breath, maybe take a nice little sip of Pepto-Bismol, if you please, and then go, is this going to be a problem? would this be a problem? That's just from the player side. And if the answer is, it might, then it probably shouldn't even go out. If it's an obvious yes, then throw your phone into the harbor, like go ahead. It felt like the Red Sox, it was, whoever was in charge of that, you didn't go through that protocol, and now we're backpedaling. So Zach, I just taught you a lesson. That's what we learned in all these spring training.
There it is. Okay? Loved it.
If it's a don't tweet immediately, just throw your phone out of reach. And if it's still don't post it. But I digress. Oh man. Boston. Baseball. It's back. Well, baseball's back, but right now the Olympics are back, but they're only here for once every 4 years. Kind of crazy. Well, I thought then we reached out to someone that has experience around this, but also it's always a Maryland connection. And Kimmie, if you're ready, just give me a thumbs up. We'll rock and roll. Boom. Well, it's probably been some time since you maybe have heard this name, but in Maryland, and especially in the figure skating community, but let's bring on Maryland native world champion, Kimmie Meissner. Kimmie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And also, I got to say, I was looking at this. Did you go to Falston?
I went to Falston, yeah.
So Harco, you're not even just a Maryland native. You're going back to the Harco region. That's my family neck of the woods.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we appreciate you joining. I got to say now from your lens, and for those that don't know, how long for you in your process of competing competitively for figure skating, how many years of this process were you a part of for people that might not know? Like Zach was born in 2000.
2000 exactly. Yeah.
Lord.
Kimmie, yeah. I'm dealing with some youngins now. So explain a little bit
about. It makes me feel older than knowing that.
But talk to me, Kimmie, about a little bit of your process and maybe your kind of journey, and then we can go from there, because I thought you'd be a great person to talk to today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. It's always fun to talk about the Olympics, think about it. I competed in the Olympics in 2006, so this is like the 20-year anniversary for me, which is also seems crazy because it feels like it just happened yesterday. Mm-hmm. But for me, I started skating when I was like 6 years old. By the time I competed in the Olympics, I was 16, so it took about 10 years for me to make it there. But you kind of, you work your way up through all the levels, just like any sport. And then for us, for figure skating, you qualify through nationals. Kind of depends on how you did. They incorporate nowadays more so like your body of work versus just how you do at nationals to qualify for the Olympics. So they kind of take into account your whole career. But yeah, that's kind of the steps. But it's been a little bit since I've been competitive and skating, but still coached for a little while after I stopped competing, skated professionally for a little bit.
I always like that context of it because, the amount of time and preparation that all of the athletes that hope to aspire to get to the levels that you reached and currently where others are at, it's a grind, and it's not starting, I've only been working on this for a year or two.
Right.
You worked on it for a decade, and then you became, at the time, it still might be, you won the world championship at 16, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I did, yeah. So it was the very next month after the Olympics. The regular competition still happened the same year of the Olympics. So we finished up there, and then it was a month later just trying to get back into the swing of things and compete again. And I happened to win Worlds right after that, which was also just like a kind of a crazy thing. But yeah, I always think context is really important too. Going back and coaching, that was something I always tried to tell my students was just, it matters what you do every single day, those little steps that you take, but nothing's going to happen overnight. And it's really just a whole process to kind of get where you're at. And some people, like right now, the U.S. women skating, Amber Glenn, she's been in it for a really long time. She's tried a few Olympic cycles to make it, and this is the first year she's made it. So it doesn't always happen that first time around. And, you don't have to be discouraged when something like that doesn't happen. You keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's path is different. Right. And some people, if you have the opportunity to keep going, obviously that means that you've had the success and you've earned the right. And sometimes you just are continuing to try to earn the right where you're really close. And then you finally have that breakthrough for whatever the reasons might be. Mm-hmm. For you, though, I think it's great perspective because you not only were one of the youngest competitors, being 16 at the Olympics and then at the Worlds is insane, and then to win it is insane. I'm trying. I don't even want to explain what I was trying to do as a teenager. I was 16. I think we won like a high school baseball championship.
Mm-hmm.
I was just starting to have some fun socially, and here you are on the world stage, competing with the best of the best. I mean, if we could take a quick trip back 20 years ago, what was going through Kimmie's mind as you're here? You're the dream that you wanted, but you're also a 16-year-old trying to process something as you're even in some ways you're still figuring out yourself and trying to compete against the world's best.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, in some ways, I think, as I competed, as I got older, you start to become a lot more aware of what it all means. I think, as a 16-year-old, I'm going in there kind of like, okay, this is just, every day and it's no big deal. And you kind of have it feels like you have a little bit less pressure on you because you are 16 and it doesn't seem like, I don't know, you're not taking it maybe as serious as when you get a little bit older. I feel like I noticed as I competed, later on that I started to become aware, like, okay, this is what this means. And here's what happens if I do these results, versus when I was 16, I kind of went in there and I felt like I had nothing to lose, which was a really great feeling. And it definitely took me years to kind of process after the fact, like, you actually were there, like at the Olympics. That was your, lifelong dream. It's definitely something that you don't process in the moment. Although I will say I definitely felt it the day of the long program is when it actually did hit me that I'm like, the world's watching you. This is it. I think there's been a lot of talk recently with Ilya Malinin, our US guy, obviously didn't have the performance that he wanted in the long program. And just the pressure is insurmountable for someone who's already expecting to win. I felt it just as someone kind of coming in as an unknown, not really someone who was, expected to medal or win. I happened to make it into that last group, but it's hard to describe what you're feeling as you're standing there. But running through my mind was like, this is your dream. You might never get back here. You got 4 minutes really to kind of seal your fate here. Up until that point, as a 16-year-old, I was just like, oh, this is great. I'm in Italy. I'm having a great time. Until that moment right before my music started. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. And I have to get through the next 4 minutes to kind of see what comes next.
I'm glad you brought up Ilya. I wanted to talk about him. Also, the nickname is what? The Quad God? Is that if I'm
Yeah.
Heck of a nickname, by the way. Way cooler of nicknames that I had, but you talked about him and the pressure. And for me, it crushed me to kind of see, not from the sense that he didn't accomplish what he wanted, but knowing what happened and him speaking on it a little bit. So you mentioned it for a second, almost like when you're young, you're naive to it. And I can relate on the side of, I grew up in Maryland. The last name's Ripken. I played baseball. I didn't understand the magnitude when I was younger. And when I was 16 and playing actually was the age for me. I still was naive to all of it. But then the next year after he won and I had more success on the national stage going to play in tournaments, Kimmie, I started having the expectation set in. And then there was the pressure. So maybe on that sense, you said you started to feel it. How could you best describe it? How I felt in my situations is that things don't feel as you're not letting your mind flow freely. Maybe it's a little bit of a second guess. And I think we both can say in baseball, when you're trying to hit a ball, and for figure skating, where you have a routine, you can't afford to think, you have to trust. Does that kind of align with the thought process in figure skating?
Yeah, totally. It sounds like the exact same kind of thing. You mostly just want to go off of a feeling. Like when I was coaching, I used to always try to tell my kids is just, you want to just know what this is supposed to feel like and try to recreate that feeling versus overthinking. So that moment where all of a sudden you're realizing the pressure setting in or expectations are setting in, I know for me, I just felt like my legs weighed, 1,000 pounds. I started running through my mind, thinking a little bit more, going into jumps, trying to, think about exactly what I needed to do, or even already the end result of what could potentially happen, and it just weighs you down. I mean, your legs feel like wet spaghetti. Like nothing's gonna work. The timing's off. It's like you're just fighting your own body at that point and just hoping to kind of make it through and like survive to the end of the program.
Yeah, that's the mind is no joke when it comes to all this. I think people underestimate it, and I think that's what you're talking about with teaching the younger generation. That's what I tell people in baseball. I swear, not that I would have made it in my sense. I don't know. Baseball's hard. Figure skating's hard. You practice, you put so much time in. But if you feel like you're battling yourself more times than not, then you're not going to have the success. And I think that's maybe as you evolved as a skater, was there something that maybe in your routines after you were 16 at the Olympics, was there one thing specifically that maybe you hold on to that you teach the younger generation?
I think again, like you're saying, if you're thinking too much, you're taking out that element of just having fun and enjoying the sport. Like you obviously start a sport because you like it, you stick with it through all those younger teen years or into your early 20s. Baseball, you got a little bit of a longer career, I think, sometimes than us figure skaters. We kind of peter out a little sooner. But you take out that element of fun and what initially drew you to the sport, and I think that's where a lot of times it can be lost. So for me, kind of sticking with why are you skating, or why are you doing whatever, insert whatever sport you want, and just kind of focusing on that can really help prolong a career or let you find out what your other goals are if you kind of past that stage of competition or making it to whatever level it is. But I kind of held on to that, and that's ultimately what brought me back. I stopped competing. I stopped skating for a few years, and kind of one way or another got drawn back into the sport. And then I kind of had to go on this journey again of like, well, why am I even skating, and why am I going to try to do this professionally for a little bit longer and do shows, and ultimately just came back to the fact that I love this sport, and it doesn't matter results. It doesn't matter necessarily what you're doing out there. People want to see you perform well. And that's what helped me kind of get through. And that's what I would try to tell my students as well. It's like, no one wants to see you fail. People want to see you do well. Same thing with the judges, they're also fans. And so I think that's sometimes hard to remember when you're in a sport like skating where you're being judged. Like, they're also fans. They want to see you do well. They're going to get wrapped up in the moment too. So if you can kind of remember that and relax, things typically go a little better. But it's hard. It's harder. It's easier said than done for sure.
Before I ask you what's the basic move that, I could learn, or how I could get to do any acrobatic movements, and maybe there's no hope for me. Maybe there's for Zach, cause he's a little bit younger.
Yeah.
All the stuff outside of competition, for your own competition in the Olympics. I've heard a lot of stories of people being, for many different reasons. There's one clip I saw that this was everything that they hoped for and more. Do you have any memory that you loved with the Olympics that wasn't with you competing, and people that aren't a part of it? Can you explain any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I have so many memories from outside of the competition. For us, it's such a short amount of time. Your short program's 2.5 minutes, and then your long program's 4 minutes. That's all you get to compete. Now they have the team events, so you do get a little bit of an extra amount of time, which is definitely probably a nice thing for those skaters. But the majority of my time at the Olympics, I feel like, was outside of the competition. Some of the most memorable moments for me, the opening ceremonies when we walked into the arena, it was a huge adrenaline rush. You're just with the pack of athletes. They're not just skaters, and you're in your niche sport, and you're never really surrounded by the other athletes. So kind of being around everybody, walking into the arena, it's packed. You're right. We were like running in. It was just like everybody's hopes are high because nothing started yet. That's something that I always remember. We were in Italy. The food was amazing. Oh. It's just like, the general vibes of Italy.
Yeah. I mean, Italy. Talk to me about it. Okay, what did you love about with Italy? Was it the food? Were you a big pasta person? Is it, did you feel like you also had to, maybe not indulge and enjoy until you were done? Like, is that the other part too with this whole equation?
Yeah, you definitely miss out on some of the fun pre-competition. And for me, the skating was at the very end of the Olympic run. So the whole time I'm just training. Everyone's finishing their events, so the village is getting wild. People are partying, and I'm still just like, okay, just like lock it in. Um, but yeah, the food, everything about the food was good. I was trying to restrain a little bit, but 16 years old and training a lot, you could kind of indulge a little bit more than
Mhm.
I could, nowadays. But we we spent the U.S. women's team went and trained up in a different area from my Olympics were in Torino. It was more of a city kind of area. We went and trained out in Courmayeur, Italy, so kind of near the Alps. It was this beautiful mountain town. So I spent most of my time out there in the mountains, kind of picturesque Winter Olympics, like where they're having like all the skiing events right now at the current Olympics. It looked like so that's what I kind of remember most. We just walked the town all the time. My mom and I would go shopping in those little shops and just kind of training, waiting for the moment. But Italy is one of my favorite places. I've been back a few times since and always love it.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Zach, have you been to Italy yet?
No, I have not. Need to though. I need the food there. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, it looks gorgeous, but the food is why I'm like I need to get over there.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna work on the culture for you, okay? Because it's Lake Como is also beautiful.
Yeah.
The summertime there, it's a little hot, but still beautiful. I haven't experienced the winter as much yet. Kimmie, you mentioned something about the village being wild. How wild does the village get? I've heard a lot of just stories. You don't have to say all of them, but I've just heard everyone goes, man, yeah, it's a time. And
Yeah.
you literally just said the village was wild. And here you are like, okay, that's great. I'm going to go compete at the end of this whole thing.
I know. I had to stay at a different little apartment leading up to my event because it was crazy. There was always loud and they had different mine was broken up into like three separate buildings. So like, at the beginning it was like, oh, this is the accreditation building and then the cafeteria and then where all the athletes were living. That eventually turned into this is, this dance area and this is this one. So it was kind of just like a big club at the end. So you can just imagine how wild it gets. But I'm good. I was competing at the very end, so I was staying with my parents in like this tiny little Italian apartment outside of the village before my events.
It's it's really funny because that if you've probably seen there's a lot of stories that are running out there about the village and everyone that talks about it like, oh yeah, village is crazy.
It is crazy, yeah.
What is this place? But you know what? What's cool is it's a group where you are so highly focused for such a long period of time to reach a goal, and then you get to finally enjoy it with a bunch of other people that have also dedicated the same amount of time to be there. I think the Olympics is such a cool experience. From that perspective. And that's why, I mean, I love the fact that you still stay connected with all of it and giving the insights to it. It's fun to watch, it all unfold. But now could you do me a favor and Zach, what move do you want to know? Like what could Kimmie help?
I can't skate, period. That's the part we have to get to first before we get any of the tricks. I would tear something and break something the second I tried anything, maybe before I even start skating. So I think I'm a lost cause just there.
Oh, okay. No, we got you. I could totally 100% get you there.
Okay. Time out, Kimmie. What do I say? Hypothetically, we know how to skate. Hypothetically.
Yes.
What is the first thing that we could do? And what could we build up to that we think would give us that kind of that bravado of like, oh, wow, look at that guy. He's a little bit more well-versed. He's not an amateur. He's a little bit more than that.
A step up from that. So I think you'd have to, let's say you already know your basic skating. You can skate forwards, backwards. You got that down.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
We've done all the single jumps. They're easy. So now the next step, when you start adding in rotation to any jump, then I think when people are looking from the outside, you see any kind of rotational jump and you're like, oh, that person's they got it together, then you start thinking, okay, they're at that next level. So we would start with, you got to always start with an axle. So single axle.
Okay.
We would do that and then eventually work our way through all the doubles. But the big move would be any kind of triple. I think if you really want to stand out, you have to be able to do some sort of triple.
So how long did it take for you to land your first triple?
That's a great question, man. That takes me back in my brain.
You're gonna say 6, like when you started? Yeah, when I was 6.
I will say I did learn my jumps pretty quick. I was kind of one of those annoying people that was out there that you were like, oh, this person already doing it. But I was doing double jumps pretty early on. So like, I think towards the end of when I was 6 into 7, I was starting to work on doubles and kind of do all those kind of things. So I probably was doing triples by the time I was, I don't know, maybe starting to try them when I was like 10.
Okay.
Maybe it took me a little bit longer to do doubles. I don't know.
So again, still you're doing all this at 10 years old. And meanwhile, for me, I'm just trying to walk, in a straight line at 10 years old. That's great.
I'm sure you're doing more.
Yeah. What's the hardest move for you? Or what and for those that don't know figure skating as well, like what is one of the hardest things to try to land or to do? Because I'll be honest, I watch figure skating. Kimmie, I don't know what the hell's going on half the time. It all looks hard to me.
Yeah.
To you, what's one of the hardest things?
Well, personally for me, the jump that I hate the absolute most is a sow cow. I just hate that jump with a passion. I still hate it. I hated it ever since I was little. I always hate teaching it. So it's just one of those jumps that always found a way to mess me up at the end of a program. But I think the hardest one from the outside, the one I get asked about most would be an axel. Can you do a triple axel? That was always like a classic question in high school, which I did actually end up doing, which was pretty great to then be like, I actually can't do that. But that one's the hardest jump because you take off forwards. It's an edge jump. So in skating, there's 3 edge jumps. There's 3 toe jumps where you pick in with your toe pick. And it kind of, depending on what edge you're on, is how you can differentiate which one is which. But the axle is the hardest because you take off forwards. So it's this extra like half rotation you got to get. So if you're doing a double, you're really doing 2.5, versus like 3.5 for a triple. And Ilya does a quad axle, which is just absolutely insane. No one's ever done that. So that's probably the hardest one just in reality and on paper.
Yeah.
Real fast. I have to ask because I was watching and my jaw literally hit the floor. How hard is it to do a flip of any kind in figure skating? Because I have never seen that before. And I literally fell off the couch. I was like, what did I just witness in real time?
Yeah. Well,
one of the most off guard.
It used to be illegal to do in competition and they just made it legal again. And it's, so exciting. I tried doing it for a really hot second. And the way you're learning it, they tie like sweatshirts around your waist. So you have somebody on each side of you with a sweatshirt. They're holding the sweatshirt sleeve. And you just start kind of trying these. And my friend that was doing it with me, he went first and he fell like, right on his head. And I was like, I think I'm good. I think I don't want to do that. So I think I'm sure it's pretty hard. I learned them off the ice and that takes you a little bit of time, but on ice, I imagine there's all kind of extra factors. So I also will fall off the couch when I see people do these wild, crazy ones.
I couldn't believe it.
So when Blades of Glory came out all those years ago, and they want to do the Iron Lotus, one, it's banned, right? Also, so ridiculous. Zach also was so young he couldn't figure that out for a little bit.
Right.
But so when that movie came out, side note, when you're have you seen Blades of Glory or heard of?
I love Blades. That's actually my favorite skating movie.
So when you're watching that, besides that, it's a comedy. But when they bring up the Iron Lotus, it's too dangerous. Like, well, too dangerous. Like they're doing a flip. And then with 2 guys where, they mess up, the reason why it's banned because it's so dangerous.
Right.
I actually am so glad. That's one of my favorite movies of Will Ferrell, by the way.
I know it's classic.
But it brings attention. I think what I've just appreciated, figure skating's so damn hard. I mean, I know we joke about Zach can't skate, and I really can't make fun of him too much because my skating skills are not good. it's a challenge. Then for you, like, you were the best in the world.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
do you ever look back at that in 2006 and if do you ever replay in your mind now that it's over? In the moment you're in it, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I got to do it. But now watching that back to kind of as we wrap this all up, what do you notice from that run when you took home the gold and you could say like I am the best in the world at this, which only a few people ever can say.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it now, I'm 36 years old, and looking back on it, like, that is insane that that actually all happened. That day, it was like everything just clicked. We were talking about what the pressure feels like and how, you don't have your legs under you. This was like the complete opposite for me, where it felt like, all that training that I did, all those run throughs every single day that I did cleanly, it was like, it just was perfectly like came out of me. I didn't have to think at all. It was all just that feeling. And I just remember it still so vividly, like how it felt to go out there and just, everything was on, and it just felt so good and so easy. But I think I have two daughters now, and I just think of them doing that. And I'm like, I would feel so nervous as the parent. I just don't know if I can sit there and watch them do that. So now
Is that how your parents felt watching
I
you?
know that's got to be how my parents felt. Like my dad used to sit like way up, in the rafters of the arena with his sweatshirt pulled up to here because he didn't want to watch, and my mom had to like pace the concourse. And I get it now. I didn't understand at the time because at the time I'm like, I got this. You know what? You guys just got to be confident and believe. And now I'm like, I would be throwing up probably in the bathroom, I think, if I had to watch them do this. So I get it now for them.
Well, it's a full circle moment. And also you said you're 36.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how for the record, Kimmie, I am 32. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying that
I'm
is
the old lady. Yeah.
no, that's not what I was going at, Zach. Don't you laugh down there. It was at the Super Bowl. I got called my dad's brother. I got told I was in my 40s, 50s, and I'm like, hey, look, I know the Ripkens have bad hair. I get it, but like, I am.
Like, you just keep that to yourself. Those are inside comments. Yeah.
So, former Raven Torrey Smith just started that whole thing off at Radio Row at the Super Bowl, and now he's like, he thinks that we're going to recover from this. Like, we're still friends, but that
Yeah. They're like, I'm gonna always think of that though every time I see you, so I won't let that go.
people don't forget, Kimmie. Just like for me, people don't forget what you did, which is still crazy, 20 years ago, and it's 16. Zach, what were you doing at 16?
Nothing even close. I was barely learning how to drive. Like, that was my biggest like hurdle in life, was figuring that out. I could not imagine. But Kim, I actually have one final question for you. We've talked about having like, this is something you worked your entire life for, and then you're sitting there on the ice at the Olympics, at the World Championships, and you said it, like, you kind of feel like, oh wow, like this is it. So at the end of the day, you're still doing what you love. I guess the simple question is, like, during those routines and stuff, did you have fun? Like, did you allow yourself to have fun, or was it something where it is this pressure? And we talk about the mental side to all this, or deep down, once you heard your music, did you allow yourself to have fun?
Yeah, that's a great question. I did. So the long program at the Olympics, I think, was when I really was like feeling that pressure. That one was a tough one because I was just so in my mind, But like my short program went great. I had a great time. I went out there. I was really super confident. I didn't feel the same way that I ended up feeling, in the long. And I would say the majority of the competitions I did throughout my competitive career, I had fun doing them. Which I think is what helped me to kind of even get to the Olympic level or skate at Worlds. I think that's such a huge aspect of it is just kind of relaxing and letting yourself actually enjoy what you're doing. Again, another skater that's out there right now, Alyssa Liu, she is like impervious to any of the pressure or what she's feeling. And I think it's just because she just looks like she's having so much fun. And I think she truly is. Like, she's just able to kind of appreciate it. And to me, that really sets the athletes apart and kind of how far you're going to go in a sport.
I firmly believe when your focus is not on what can go wrong, or when your focus is on, just if it is saying you want to win in baseball, where I'm going with this is in baseball, you got to face the pitcher and they're throwing 90 something at you. And it's maybe 100, and it's a process. It's a challenge. But it's easier when you're focusing on, all right, how do we find a way as a team to win? How do you get the job done? I feel like probably with figure skating, when you enjoy the moment more of what you understand what you have to do, but when you understand, okay, what do I just need to do right now? And what I need to do is just need to skate. Yeah. I need to stay in this moment. And if you do that well enough, I think the rest of it, the other results take care of themselves.
Right.
And you're right. I mean, when you have that passion and you can have that freeness, that's what creates the special moments. Because at the end of the day, the most physically talented people that I know can do some things that I could never do. But I knew sometimes what held them back was that they couldn't stay in the moment and enjoy it. Couldn't stay in the moment and execute it.
Right.
So I think that's what it's all about. But it seems like you like to be in a rhythm, have fun. To end this, what was one of your skate songs? Did you listen to any before?
Because I am 36, stuff was just coming out with the iPod. I think I had finally just gotten an iPod. I was just walking around with my Discman for a little while. I remember just working out with like the old CD tracks that would skip if you hit a bump. So I think I did have an iPod at the Olympics, but I just had all different kinds of things on there. I don't know one specific song. I feel like I've got more songs now that I would kind of tune into, but I had always got a little mix of everything on there.
Oh, so what would it be now then, Kimmie? Since you opened up that one, what would it be now?
I know. Shoot. What would it be now? I like, that Lupe Fiasco song, Superstar. I listened to that one for a little while if I want to get real pumped up.
Yeah.
I like that one. But let's see. Currently, right now, my hot songs are like "Let It Go" from Frozen, because I got these girls that just constantly request it. So Disney hits are the kind of number one in my household at the moment.
You know what? We had Dennis Pitta and Todd Heap at the Super Bowl, and Dennis was talking about, well, my kids love the K-pop.
And man, yeah.
Todd's like, well, you also like the K-pop too here, Dennis. And
right.
It's a common thing.
It is. I know. Yeah. My daughter's always requesting it. My husband's like, let's turn this off. And I'm like, low key, I love it. You want to listen to Moana? Let's put it on. Let's get
you know what? So in the future, I'll reach out to you, but hey, spring's rolling around here. Everyone venture to Camden Yards. You let me know.
I would love to. That'd be great. I'll tell you right now.
Hey, well then we'll make that happen. And I look forward to maybe one of these times you can give us a further demonstration and you can assess our skating skills.
Yeah, I'll extend the invite. Anytime you guys want to come on down to Ice World or anywhere, we can have our skating lesson. So
okay. I'm in. I'm terrified, but I'm in. All right. Kimmie, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It's been a treat for us, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Kimmie Meissner, everybody. I'm telling you, I think it's when I start having kids. I'm not there yet, Zach. I'm close. Well, knock on wood. Just got married. Let's calm down, everybody. But it is cool to see how things have evolved. But the crazy thing for me with Kimmie is what she accomplished already on a professional part is what some people, you try to do for a lifetime. She was doing that at 16. And I thought it was great perspective on the Olympics. And, there are so many talented people out there and you have to devote so much time, Zach. But at the end of the day, it's really how do you stay out of your head at the biggest stage? Because they're all there because they're talented. It's just how do you handle that pressure at the biggest moment could be the difference.
Yeah. And, that's why I wanted to ask her about having fun, because I feel like you get so lost in the pressure sometimes that at least these athletes talk about the mental aspect of it. And I think that it's true of what she said. Like, I think the reason they do so well is because they do have fun. They do what it's going to sound, they're doing what they do. Like it's what they love. And like, I think when you have that aspect of it, it does escalate what you're capable of, because when you're tense, when you're thinking a million things, like she said, when she won gold at the World Champions, like that's insane. It was because everything just flowed. It wasn't thinking, what's next? What am I doing here? Oh, was that great? Okay, well, I have this coming up. It all happens. It's like she said, it's everything, all the work she's put in, all the hundreds of times that you've done the routine over and over, and it just takes over. And then it's just almost instinct at that point, and just being in the moment. And that's what, makes the best the best.
It certainly does. And also, it is funny when you hear later on, and just talking to Kimmie, in parts of it, I don't think, I know she doesn't look at herself in that way, but in that moment, 16 going against the world's best, and you're a world champion at 16 years old. It's to me, it's astounding. I always love hearing from people that performed at the highest level, because, at the end of the day, when you talk to them, you realize with a lot of them, they weren't thinking that way. You could tell, like, yeah, I want to compete, I want to win, but she's not thinking about it. I'm going to be the champion. I got to do all these things. If I do them right, we'll see what happens. And she was a champion. And also, then I got to say, when she brought up superstar Lupe Fiasco, see, we have that same era of music. Zach, you're too young. Yeah. Just a young lad. You're a good kid.
Yeah, I definitely was not listening to much music in 06. That's for sure.
Yeah, you didn't even know what music was. I mean, it's a good point. You might not even know what a compact disc is.
I do know what a Discman is. I do know that when she brought that up, because I had a bunch like in my basement growing up. Like, you had the old ones there. So yeah. No, I do know what a Discman is. I'd use it a few times.
Yeah.
Put some tunes on, carry around put some headphones, plug the headphones in. No? What can I say?
You're a good kid. I don't care what they say about you. Well,
I try.
I think that does it for it. Hey, two great guests. Appreciate Mike Florio. Appreciate Kimmie Meissner, world champion Kimmie Meissner. And we will go skate. That I want to do. That they're talking about content. That will be in
I'll participate. I cannot guarantee you will call it skating, but I will participate and attempt. But I don't know if what will happen will be classified as skating.
Well, you know what Bart Scott says? Can't wait, but a little bit terrified.
Yeah,
a little bit terrified. Well, Zach, I'm gonna move on over to the other spot to close up. But just hit the final call to actions. What's going on? AutoStream Car Care Center. I put out a hot pic today on Instagram. Did you see that, Zach?
I did, unfortunately.
What are you talking about? What are you about, unfortunately? You can pull
unfortunately. That up. Yeah. So appreciate everyone. Hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Ryan Ripken Show, live 3 to 5 every single day, weekdays. Going to be a different schedule continuing throughout the next week. But appreciate you all for sticking with us. Appreciate all of our guests over this week for joining us. We will keep you updated over the next day or two on what's happening with the show and all of that. But appreciate everyone for tuning in. Have a fantastic Wednesday. Didn't know what day it was for a second.
Cue it. As always, here on the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate each and every one of you. Have a day, have a night, have a great stinking rest of your Wednesday. Guess what? Talk tomorrow. It'll be Thursday on the Ryan Ripken Show. We are live on YouTube, X, and Facebook, Monday through Friday. Peace.